Shalom, my friends. Welcome after so many weeks of not seeing you. I have missed you so much in these last few weeks. Thank you so much for your prayers. Our double Torah portion this week is Parashot, Tazria, Metzora. This parasha comes from Leviticus 12 verse 1 up to 15 verse 33. Today we are going to zoom in on the disease often mistranslated as leprosy, although its symptoms are very different from the original Hebrew word of tzara'at. But for lack of a better word, today we will use what is normally used for the translation. I will use the word leprosy. It is a supernatural affliction on the skin and sometimes on the walls of the houses of those afflicted, the Metzora. It is in essence a physical manifestation of a spiritual or ethical defect. One of the major causes of a spiritual defect on a person is the evil speech or the evil tongue, known in Hebrew as lashon, hara. It is forbidden to speak negatively about others in a way that causes harm on their reputation, on their emotion, or on their finances, even if what you are saying about them is true. Gossip, slander, and revealing secrets is prohibited in Leviticus chapter 9 verse 16. This week's double Torah portion teaches on the role of the Kohen, the priest, a role not as a doctor but as the spiritual authority in diagnosing and guiding the afflicted person through a process of purification and rehabilitation back to the community. After a process of inspections and instructions, the pronouncement of the high priest activated the status of the afflicted person. The priest acted as a spiritual healer and a guide to the individual to mend their ways and to return to God, as opposed to just merely curing a disease. This is all detailed in the book of Leviticus chapter 13 verse 1 up to 14 verse 57. Indeed, it was within the power of the priest to declare the person Tamei or Tahor. Tamei being the Hebrew word for impure and Tahor being the Hebrew word for pure. And then fast forward to the Brit Hadashah in Matthew chapter 8, in Mark chapter 1, in Luke chapter 5, and in Luke chapter 17, we read about how Yeshua dealt with issues of tzara'at or leprosy. Here, Yeshua demonstrates his role as high priest by functioning as the true mediator who removed defilements, acts with priestly compassion, and fulfills the Levitical law that others before him could only administer. He touched the unclean without being contaminated. According to Levitical law, touching a leper made a person ritually unclean. Leviticus chapter 5 verse 3. Yeshua, however, stretched out his hand and touched the Metzora or the leper. Instead of becoming contaminated, Yeshua's purity would flow into the leper, demonstrating that he is the holy high priest who cleanses sinners rather than being defiled by them. Instead of just pronouncing, Yeshua actually cleansed the lepers. Leviticus 13 and 14 teaches us that the priests were only authorized to examine, quarantine, and pronounce the leper clean after the healing occurred. The Gospels, however, show us that Yeshua did not merely inspect the healing. He caused it, demonstrating that he is the curer who makes the leper clean. Yeshua went on to fulfill the priestly rituals by telling all the lepers that he cured to go and show themselves to the Kohen priest and offer the gift that God commanded as a testimony to them. We find this in Matthew 8 verse 4, Mark 1 verse 44, Luke 5 verse 14, and Luke 17 verse 14. This way Yeshua honored the law, which itself testified that a new, greater high priest was performing miracles. In this way, Yeshua restored the outcast. Leprosy caused the social and spiritual exile, forcing the afflicted to live outside the community. So by healing the lepers, Yeshua acted as the high priest who brings the outcast back into the community and into God's presence. He was moved with compassion, similar to the description of a high priest who can sympathize with weaknesses that we read about in Hebrews chapter 14 verse 15. We find that whenever he acted, Yeshua was moved with compassion or was angered towards the effects of sin or disease on humanity. And in summary, we find that Yeshua's handling of leprosy demonstrates that he is the true high priest who fulfills the role of restoration, providing a deep cleansing from sin that the Levitical priests could only foreshadow. Thank you so much for watching. All the best.